The pedophile priest scandal that's been tarnishing the Catholic Church's reputation and costing them more than $3 billion in settlements alone here in the U.S., not new. But what is new, Pope Francis, he's revealed he's creating a new church law to deal with these pedophile priests, removing the Catholic bishops from office if they fail to sack a known child molester in response to demands made by victims and their families. Wow, groundbreaking here, Elliot. So if a bishop knows, and in several cases that we're going to get into in just a second, in which how could they not know? Plausible deniability is not an excuse. If they know they're going to lose their job, this is a new law of the church, removing bad actors. You know, you can't shuffle them around anymore. That's what we've been seeing you do, which has typically been the history of the church. Now, I want to get into a very specific case that the Guardian article highlights that I used for this story. And Pope Francis has a friend, it turns out. He's an Italian bishop, a cardinal, excuse me. His name is Cardinal Barbarin, and he had priests in his parish that were accused of molesting children. Now, the Pope, in response to this one specific case, has decided not to remove his buddy. I just want to take you to what he had to say about this. He says, based on the information that I have, I believe that Cardinal Barbarin in Lyon took the necessary measures and that he has matters under control. He's courageous, creative, a missionary. We now need to await the outcome of the civil judicial proceedings. Excuse me for tripping up on that. But basically what he's saying is, this is my buddy. He's staying, he's fine. Plausible deniability works in his case, but on all the other ones moving forward, those guys are going to do something.
Yeah, I mean, well, it goes back to what I've always maintained. People always give Pope Francis plaudits for taking a no-nonsense approach to child abuse. Arguably, that's why Benedict resigned, because he was either doing too little or he was somehow implicated in some of the aspects of the cover-ups. This instance, when the Pope has said no one has done more than the Catholic Church to seek to root out paedophilia within the Church, well, guess what? No one has actually done more to create it in the first place. The argument that there's now transparency, this is all well and good, and this is fine, but then when you have this as your first instance, you indicate that there are still going to be exceptions, and there will certainly be certain people who will get a pass. It doesn't really give you a lot of confidence that they really have a vested interest in rooting this problem out. They just want to be seen to be doing the right thing. I hope that I'm not right. I hope that my cynicism isn't fulfilled. But listen, we still have reports of priests being shuffled around. They're no longer shuffled around parishes within the United States, because that's too obvious. They're just simply
Latin America,
shuffled off
the
to
norm.
Latin America.
Right, correct. They go to poorer places where there's less publicity, less press. And you and I have talked about this before. A priest was moved to Haiti, I believe, who was accused of molesting. Just getting some key facts out here for you. And I encourage you to look into this story, because this one in particular, the Pope's financial officer, and we all know the church is about making money, frankly. These bad actors, they're very, their only way to deal with them, in my opinion, is to bankrupt them. But just getting to the financial chief, to the Pope himself, Cardinal George Pell, he was accused of covering up historical abuse in Australia. Now, he appeared before the Australia's Royal Commission to answer for his role, and of course he denied knowing anything. That's one cardinal that still has his job. Juan Barros, he was an appointed bishop in Chile in 2015. He'd been also accused of ignoring reports of abuse by a father who was found guilty of molesting children in his parish. So we see a trend here, Elliot. We see, how could you not know what's going on in your own house? Mass pedophilia and molesting multiple victims on a large scale. That's very difficult to ignore. And I think that the Vatican's poor response it's embarrassing, it's appalling. Not only do we have these bad actors, they're monsters, they're despicable, and they should be dealt with criminally. I'm of the belief that his authority should be stripped, because what type of law could you enforce? We're talking about a church law. Okay,
right. Great.
That's great. Anyway,
I mean, the other aspect of it, Margaret, is that you get there's not one lone voice in this. We always assume that the Pope himself is the sort of the buck stops with the Pope, and he will make certain pronouncements that will be adhered to. But we often and frequently get a number of other pronouncements coming out from other members of the Vatican who seem to be at variance, or seem to make comments that are variance to his zero tolerance policy, whereby they put the emphasis on the family, whereby they put the emphasis on the children themselves, the victims themselves. So again, it is not as though the Pope speaks for all the Catholic Church when he makes these laws and when he speaks and makes these pronouncements. One can hope that this is a beginning of a process, but we've seen just from the outset that it doesn't seem to be the dawning of a new day.
Right. Well, the scandal that severely tarnished the reputation of the Catholic Church and the Pope himself, frankly, it's getting a new law added to it. Any bishop that's caught knowing about a priest molesting children in his parish, he's going to get sacked if he moves that priest around and doesn't do anything about it.